that measures blood flow and brain activity. And so
Okay.
specifically, for example, with ADHD, there's 7 types of ADHD when you look at the brain, and most people have multiple types.
Hmm.
So in my early 20s, when I got my first brain scan, it showed that I basically had all of the types of ADHD because
Hmm.
my brain was so overactive. And
Hmm.
so over the 8,000 different clients I worked with, from little munchkins age 4 to people in their 70s who were coming for dementia and were like, oh yeah, I happen to have ADHD my whole life. All of it came together based on their brain scan. It's like, oh, like your brain is overactive in this area and it's underactive in this area, which is why a stimulant medication made you feel worse, which is the case for me and for most of my ADHD clients.
Hello, I'm Jenna Flockert.
And I'm Lianka Reyna.
Ain't it fun having friends that support the elitist dreamer in you?
This podcast is for the way too much unrealistic seeker.
Tune in every Tuesday and have fun up-leveling.
This is the Hot Hustle Podcast.
Today, we are talking with Fallon Jordan, and we are going to talk about ADHD and neurological issues and how to heal them.
That's right. But first, we have some morning brew with Woo. And Jenna, what do you got for today's morning brew with Woo?
So last night, Lianka sent me my QHHT session from October.
From your birthday that
Yeah.
I did for you on your birthday.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I have still just bubbles and tears in my eyes
Really? She
because
hasn't told me this yet, y'all.
because I had so many awakenings and so many awarenesses beyond when we did it the first
Right,
time.
because one of the cool things about QHHT is that you think you remember while you're there because you are
Yeah.
in a I cannot say that word.
Okay.
Somnambulistic state.
Right.
Got it.
Very nice.
So basically you think that you remember. Most
Yeah.
people nowadays think that they remember, but the beauty and what I've learned is that listening to your replay is where you really get some juicy information that your own words are telling you.
Yeah.
Just in case you're not familiar with QHHT.
Yeah. And I can't recommend it enough because I feel like the healing, it just goes over and over and over again. And so I invite you guys to explore, hypnosis and QHHT. And as far as most of them were personal awarenesses, so I don't know what I really am going to share, but I just wanted to bring it out.
Already.
You're like, what were they?
Yeah, come on.
Yeah. Basically, so if you are new here, we are in a journey of personal development every day, all day. And I think the biggest thing that I noticed was kind of my upgrade and my elevation just since October.
You said
I feel
right
like
now.
a very different person.
That's what you said. And I was like, just
I'm like,
thinking
who is
about
this person?
I am too, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's fast.
I think a lot of it's come from the show too, right? Like every day we have a little bit of our own personal development journey just because of all the amazing speakers that we get to work with and talk to. So then there's so many times where we rip off our headphones and we're like, oh my gosh. Did you get that? Like I did.
Yeah. And it's just a reminder, we meet every Tuesday and Thursday at this time. And as Lianka says, it's a free resource so that you can be here with us and upgrade with us as well.
Yeah.
Timeline jump.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, today's Mystic Space Weather News. We have some interesting news that came out of the report from spaceweather.com. I always get this information. They use NOAA, which is all science-based. And it says the centennial Gleisberg cycle. Somebody correct me if I'm also saying that word wrong, because, my native language would be a little bit of Spanish mixed in with my Tex-Mex. So I always pronounce things differently. If you've been enjoying the auroras of the solar cycle 25, we've got good news. It says the few solar cycles could be even more intense. Now, if you're an Ascension follower, you know that also means that we are going to be flooded with even more photons of sun's light.
Mhm.
It says the result of a little known phenomenon called the Centennial Gleisberg cycle will be experiencing that. So that's every 100 years. So what we have a solar cycle, which I always talk about, that we're in the peak of that solar cycle. It's every 11 years. So we're in that 11-year peak right now.
Mhm.
Now we're in the 100-year peak. So what's
Mhm.
up? Makes total sense as we are navigating right into the time of Aquarius, right into a lot of awakenings. A lot of people have their psychic gifts coming online.
Mhm.
Remember, it'll make you feel a little cray. It can make you feel a little cray. And lots of sleep if you feel like you need it. Don't make yourself feel bad for it. And just remember the things that I always say: grounding, water, and give yourself grace. And that's what I got for Mystic Space Weather News. All righty. Gosh, we've got a great show today. Great
Excited.
speaker.
Yeah, Fallon. I'm going to go ahead and bring you up. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have quite a little bit different background than some of our other speakers, and I think this is going to be a really fun call because you actually know the science of the brain and how it works, and really have done a lot of work personally to heal yourself, from my understanding. Do you want to
Yeah.
start with how you healed your ADHD and maybe like what actually brought you to become a brain health coach?
So it's definitely divine intervention that I even stumbled into Amen Clinics, and it's a company that does holistic psychiatry, and they do brain SPECT imaging. So instead of an MRI, it's SPECT. SPECT measures blood flow and brain activity. And so
Okay.
specifically, for example, with ADHD, there's 7 types of ADHD when you look at the brain, and most people have multiple types. So in my early 20s, when I got my first brain scan, it showed that I basically had all of the types of ADHD because my brain was so overactive. And so over the 8,000 different clients I worked with, from little munchkins age 4 to people in their 70s who were coming for dementia and were like, oh yeah, I happen to have ADHD my whole life. All of it came together based on their brain scan. It's like, oh, like your brain is overactive in this area and it's underactive in this area, which is why a stimulant medication made you feel worse, which is the case for me and for most of my ADHD clients. Our brains were, I definitely think that we're all light workers and are meant to tap into that for a reason. And it's because there's a lot going on up there. And especially in the limbic system, which is, where our memory center is, our mood center, but also that's where a lot of our gifts are. And so if you're like me and you thought you were crazy your whole life and just someone threw a label of ADHD on it, and then that morphed into, depression and anxiety. And, I really did have ADHD. And for a girl, like usually that comes out later through impulsive decision making. So a lot of the, yeah.
We know.
Very much so.
Yeah. And thank God for things like hypnotherapy and EMDR and energy healing, because that helped so much.
Yeah.
But I really needed supplements to support my brain. I needed to calm down my brain with certain supplements that are proven to do that. And then I needed also something called hyperbaric oxygen therapy, which is amazing. And you can actually go to fallonjordan.com/HBOT, HBOT, and learn all about it. I don't want to get too hyper focused on it, but it's kind of one of the unsung heroes in the healing space when it comes to really anything, because when we're looking at mental health and neurology, we're looking at the brain. Unfortunately, a lot of people in that space who claim to be medical and mental health professionals, they're not actually looking at your brain. And it's the organ that controls your life. And your brain is this beautiful thing floating in your skull. It's not secure. It's just floating in there in this beautiful little pristine water. And so it's very easy to hurt. It's the consistency of soft butter. So even just,
I
didn't know that.
it's wild. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
So our precious, beautiful little brain, if we even get in a car accident over like 25 miles an hour and our brain goes like this, it's kind of like, I'm sure we all here loved our crystal balls and our magic 8 balls as kids. You don't really know what's going to happen. And that's what happens in the brain. You don't really know how bad your injury is going to be, or if you're going to actually even have one, unless you look. And most people that came to me when I was in just focusing on, brain healing, whether it's for ADHD or depression, anxiety, OCD, whatever it happened to be, it was really about, okay, we need to look at your brain and then we need to see what's really going on. And out of the thousands of people I've helped, it's been very rare that I've seen someone who didn't have a brain injury. And a lot of people don't know that they had it because nobody's talking about it and nobody's looking. And a SPECT scan and a PET scan, it's literally just SPECT without the other letters in it. Basically, it's just much more expensive. Those aren't things that people are using. And so it's kind of like this evolution that we're having in the healing world in general, that like having a SPECT scan should be just as important as looking at your heart, making sure if you fall off the roof and you're a roofer, like they're going to x-ray your arm. Like, why aren't we looking at the brain? And why aren't we looking at the brain ongoing, especially if you're having problems? Because the more we learn about the brain, it has trillions of connections, billions of cells. And we know we can turn that shit on with quantum energy, right? We can do that. Everyone here can do that 1000%. But what I found is the reason that God put me in this journey the way that I did is I'm going to give you, the client, the person wanting to learn, like every excuse basically on a biological level that no one else has told you about for the reason that you're suffering. And we're going to knock it down, like biological, psychological, social, spiritual. But then I'd have my own experience of healing my brain and then realizing I wasn't crazy, because I was grateful that I got to work with people who do trauma-informed therapy, but they're into all the stuff that we're into. And so I kind of just gave myself permission to do the things that made me happy, which is like being surrounded by my babies and
that's right.
And taking my supplements, like doing hyperbaric oxygen. And it really happens so quickly because the brain is a muscle, right? Like you start going to the gym, you're like, oh my God, like look at my buys, like I have Cameron Diaz arms, I'm so awesome.
Yeah.
She's not telling you that Cameron Diaz specifically, like she uses her hyperbaric oxygen chamber all the time. There's a lot of, and I think this is part of my mission. So thank you for holding space for me to kind of come out of the closet.
Absolutely. Go ahead. Let's cook.
Good work.
There are so many celebrities and top performers who hyperbaric oxygen therapy and energy healing are their two keys to success, and they're not saying it. They're slightly coming out of the closet. Like, I see you an astrologer. And it's like saying you see an astrologer, but they create your entire business plan for the next 50 years for you to give to your children. That's a little different. So I definitely feel like there's this, and I think part of that too is that, Dr. Amen, who tutored me and mentored me, and I learned all of this stuff from, he works with celebrities. So I kind of got to get like the real juice on what some of these people are dealing with. And, some of them definitely are, kind of in the dark sciences, and you can see it on their brain scan, because like their brain scan literally looks like the classic, double. But that's why it's so cool, because you get, and again, I tell people all the time, like I barely made it through school. I only got a degree because I felt like my family would disown me if I didn't. And at that point, I cared what they thought. And so I'm grateful that I did get, those degrees and stuff like that, but it has nothing to do with actually looking at what's going on in the brain and then using pubmed.gov, which is like the only place that has peer-reviewed scientific research to make decisions for myself and my clients. If I can do it, you can do it. You do not have to be a doctor. You do not have to be super like smart or think of yourself that way, because I definitely didn't. But I learned, because when I'm with people, like I'm like a mama bear. Like I want to be there with them all the time, like supporting them with all of the things that they're doing. Because just like when you open up to the spiritual world, like when you're opening up to the world of learning how to heal your brain and your body holistically, everything changes. And understanding how it's connected. I mean, so much of my ADHD was trauma, and then, also, I had concussions as a child. I had a few weird fainting spells that were related to my blood sugar. My blood sugar, of course, the doctor's going to slap like a PCOS diagnosis on that and put me in this whole other box, right? For those diagnoses. But at the end of the day, it was mercury toxicity, it was lead toxicity, and it was mold toxicity. And my beautiful, precious body was fighting tooth and nail to keep me healthy. So even though like I had like mental health struggles, it wasn't severe enough for me to ever feel like there was something that I couldn't get through, if that made sense.
Yeah.
And so,
Yep.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like there
I
were definitely
do.
times I had a lot of dark thoughts, but like there was something else inside me that's like, no, you're going to get through this and you're going to teach other people how to do it,
I love
because
that.
Yeah.
it's not my fault. It's not my fault that I had mercury and lead toxicity. I wasn't knowingly consuming those. I didn't
Yeah.
knowingly live somewhere with mold, but my body was keeping me healthy. I had, you know, mono. A lot of us had it as teenagers. It was as active as if it has never left my body
Wow.
when I got tested 20 years later. And
Mhm.
My
again, I push,
gosh.
The
I'm
Epstein
like,
bar. Yeah, that
yeah,
Epstein bar.
exactly. Yeah, it's a doozy. But again, I was able to get all of that out of my system within weeks.
Wow.
So it
Let's
can
talk
be
about that.
yes.
Because we would like to know too.
I'm
Totally.
like, and tone it down a
So
little bit because I'm not with the yellow like Epstein bar. And I'm like, or Epstein bar, and I'm like, huh? So
Most
hey,
people
there's
have it.
power in
Yeah.
power
I'm like,
in words,
I don't.
and there's
I
people
do.
Oh, you do.
I don't know. See?
well, but there's a reason why those are linked, right? Like
Yeah.
I believe, and a lot of people believe, Lyme disease was actually used as a silent form of biological warfare
Interesting.
because so many people have Lyme disease and don't know, and it looks like ADD, depression, dementia.
I've heard that. Yeah.
And if they go to a normal doctor, in quotes,
Yeah.
if you're listening on audio, doctor, they say, test me for Lyme disease because I heard this chick talking about it and I think that's my problem. They're not going to know how to do it because they weren't taught that in medical school, because their medical school is controlled by the pharmaceutical companies,
Yep.
and they can't treat Lyme disease with anything that you're going to see a commercial for. It has to be very specific strains of very specific, you know, not antibiotics, but antimicrobials and things like that to repair the gut.
Mhm.
Anyway, so I just went on that tangent. But again, like everything being connected. And so for me personally, I was doing supplements to calm my brain down. I was also taking supplements to help improve blood flow because the specific places that I kept getting concussions literally actually, this is probably why I brought this, and I don't know why. I had a quarter size of my brain where I wasn't getting any blood flow.
Wow.
And that was, yeah, it was wild.
Yeah.
And you
And
found out all of this through this test.
mhm.
Okay. Okay. Just
Yeah.
clarifying that for the audience. Wow.
Thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
clarifying, and like brain spectrum imaging is awesome, but again, like I'm on this new path now, and if someone gives permission and they literally just check it off when they do a healing with me, if you allow me access, I can do a psychic brain spect scan, which is like
Mhm.
super, super, super cool. I'm like so happy that I can do that. But I literally did my supplements, I did hyperbaric oxygen, I got rescanned, and that hole of where I wasn't getting blood flow had completely healed. So then I started the next layer because you don't want to detox too fast. And I think that's something that people don't understand. You have to do it fast, but in the way that your body thinks of it that way. So a lot of people will do the things that they know in like the general detox, right? Like they'll do glutathione, they'll lay in the sun, they'll do sauna and sweat. But just that one example, you have to understand that when you sweat all of that out, and I've always been a sweaty person. So when I was doing my detox and my doctor's like, I need you to sweat as much as possible, I'm like, no problem. You need to do that. But what I had to do is when I took all that sweat out, I had to fill like a normal little size sink of water, and then, you know, put the stopper in there so it was like full of the water. And then I would take a face cloth. You think this is gross, but it works. And I would take the face cloth and I would literally take all of the sweat all over my body and I would put it in the water. And so, but what I was doing is I was diluting the water with the junk basically that was coming out of my body. But when I diluted it, and then I took the face cloth of this water that turns a very mucky, gross color, I put that water that's now diluted with everything that came out of me back on my skin so that my body doesn't go into shock. And
Interesting.
that's something that a lot of people miss. And Oscar Sierra in Georgia is my doctor. I love him. He's amazing. He helps with so many different things. And he's a traditional Chinese medicine doctor. And this is something that is often a very missing piece in the detox world. So I try to let people know that. But I did the specific supplements that he told me to take, which again are taking things out, but also putting things back in so that my immune system doesn't go into shock. And if anyone here is like obsessed with flowers and dandelions, like I'm like obsessed with dandelions. And it's because my body was actually needing those. I was
Interesting.
literally eating dandelions by the bushel when I was doing my mold detox.
Yeah.
But I went from having, and it's so funny because again, I was very high functioning, but I was like, I just want to, it's my best friend, the doctor. I'm like, I want to see Oscar for myself because he's like helping all of these clients and all these friends. And so we're sitting down to look at my labs because I told him to run everything. I'm like, I want you to test me for like literally everything. He's like, you literally have the worst mold levels I've ever seen in a client. And my mind's racing.
I'm so terrified.
Well, we were laughing about it because it's like, I'm sending people to him who, they went to all these different doctors and got all these surgeries for all these different issues, and it was mold and they got better. I'm like my normal, high achieving, high performance self. And he's like, I can't believe that you've been walking around with this much mold in your body. And I was like, well, sweet. I'm excited. Let's see how fast I can get this out.
Yeah,
and so,
right.
8 weeks later, and it was a hard 8 weeks. I mean, you can't eat certain things like, the sweat sink thing. I had to do that 3 or 4 times a day.
Wow.
It was kind of like a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
But I planned to do it in summer so that I could just like go to the pool and just like chill and sweat.
Yeah. Cool. That's smart. That's smart.
Yeah. And then we ran the test again on week 10, and I literally had 0 mold in my body.
Oh man. I see. I have this intuition that I'm worried I have mold.
Interesting.
Just because we had a water leak and it stayed in our, it stayed on our walls, and we had to have the mold extracted, like any preventative, have it all extracted and all that stuff. And so it just, I don't know. I've been telling my husband, I am so exhausted. I don't know why.
Maybe. Oh my gosh.
I know. So I'm kind of worried. And then of course you're by no accident sitting here saying yeah. And I just said that this week, like a couple of days ago. And he's like, because I say a lot of stuff. I'm like, I think I have mold. He's like, you do?
Well, and like when we're talking about like the energetic world too, I mean, mold and Lyme disease usually go in hand. And if you look at them under the microscope, like they look like dark energy, right? They look like Dr. Emoto's study of like hate and anger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's something there. And I feel like it's the way that they attack light workers. Like I totally believe that. Yeah. But I'm so glad that you said that because, most people, when you're like, do you think you have mold? They're like, no. But if you say, have you ever had a suspicious leak in your house? They're like, oh yeah. And it's like, that's the key question that gets them thinking about it. I had Corey, I forget his last name, Corey on my podcast recently, and he is basically a mold coach and he helps with the whole house.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah. He's amazing.
Yeah.
So there's a couple links under that episode where you can schedule a free call with him and just kind of learn about the home side of what to do. And like I said, Oscar Sierra is my go-to with the clinical aspect. He's in Georgia, but he does everything virtual. If you decide to see him in person, tell him Fallon sent you and you get a big long hug.
Nice. Love it.
Wow.
Is Corey the one that's testmyhome.com?
No, you're thinking that's
someone else that talks about. Okay.
It's Mold Finders, I think.
Okay. But either way, I'm glad that lots of more people are actually talking about these really, really in-depth conversations about their environment and how that can be contributing to your mold toxicity levels.
Right. So go ahead.
I was going to say, can you tell us a little bit about your process for working with clients psychically? Because I'm like, do I need this test? Which I already decided, yes, I do.
Totally. I'm so glad that you asked that. Yeah. So just tapping in the energy, things will come out, but there is a master lab order that I make sure everybody gets done with their normal doctor, because if you're paying them an atrocious amount of money through your insurance, this is something that they can actually do for you before you go to someone like Oscar, who's going to be like cash pay. So,
I just ordered that today. So I have a doctor's appointment scheduled and I just said, I want labs. Like,
yay! Okay. And I'm holding you accountable to that. I'm writing it down.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll send the lab
you know
order.
already?
I've been doing it with her too.
Yay. Well, in one example, so a general lab order is going to have your thyroid measurements. A normal quote unquote doctor is going to only run 3 of the 5. And that's why they throw everybody on levothyroxine and Synthroid, because those 3 are incorrect. but the two that they're not measuring are literally the most important, because those can actually tell you if there's a deeper issue going on, like mold or Lyme or even unhealed brain injury. Because what happens is when you have that concussion and your brain goes like this, your pituitary gland gets damaged. And we love our pituitary meditations, don't we? And this is something that we're missing because it damages your hormones. So it's kind of like, okay, like what's really the mold, what's really the toxins, what's really me needing to share my voice and strengthening my throat chakra. For me, like what's really my witch wound, like all of that was connected. And so as I healed it through, the biological stuff that I needed to do, the psychological stuff I needed to do, the energetic stuff that I needed to do, the social, which I think, there's someone here like me, like that was one of the hardest parts, right? Like setting those boundaries and having to let people go who just didn't understand me. And like, you know what I mean? Like all of the things that go into the boundaries and treating your energy and your time like it's the most precious thing on the earth, because it really is. But vitamin D is something I get on my soapbox about, because again, like you could just go to your normal doctor and like your vitamin D, it could say that you have a vitamin D level of 38, for example, which is over 30, which a quote unquote normal doctor is going to be like, oh my God, like you're so awesome. Like your vitamin D is a 38. Fantastic. What they're not telling you is that if your vitamin D is over 70 and the closest to 100 it gets, the lower your chances for having literally any health issue, period. And again, if you're going to write down anything, write down pubmed.gov, which is short for medical publications.government. And if you just type in vitamin D, you'll see that there's over 120,000 peer-reviewed scientific articles. If anyone here is a friend of Uncle Jack, Dr. Jack Kruse, like, how he gets on his high horse about the sun. We all love the sun. We love the solar codes. I've been sleeping like 18 hours a day. It's totally fine.
That's right.
And literally waking up to my favorite tarot reader with a 444. So I love that you're wearing that necklace today.
Yeah. We have those in our store.
And they're just good little markers to remind us
we
that
have
we're
little
so loved and supported.
triple numbers.
I'm writing this down. I didn't know you had a store. I know you got a medium.
Here, I'll just put it in the chat so everyone can have it.
And if you don't know, Fallon was also an avid listener of the show as well. So we're excited to have her join us as a person that loves to consume the content too of all of our beautiful speakers that we've had. One of the things that I want to ask is, I take vitamin D because I do believe that like vitamin D has always been the thing. When my grandpa was one of those that was like very, I guess he was very clued in before his time. He only got like a 6th grade education, but man, that man could tell you anything. He was like the Google of our time. So when my aunt got really, really sick, she was born, she was really tiny. My aunt's always been really tiny, and she got real sick, probably mono, probably something like that. But like when she was young, and so like back then they didn't take their children to the doctor as much. They had 8 kids. So, but the doctor did see her, and then they couldn't figure out why she was staying so sick. And so finally my grandpa like picked her up in his arms, and they just sat out in the sun, like in the front porch for just, a couple hours, just hanging out there. And if you know Texas, like you get a lot of sun no matter what the season is. And so, and it was so cute because my aunt still remembers that she said, he just picked me up and put me in the sun. And so I always think about that. Like he just intuitively knew that our bodies needed to be replenished in that way. And my grandma loves to still garden. And although she can't, she's using a walker, she's barely getting out there, but she's still out in her garden doing stuff. Right. And I always try to get out in the sun as much as I can, but I lived in Oregon, which doesn't have a lot of sun. So I was trying to do those solar like tanning beds, and that didn't work. But I also tried to supplement with vitamin D, like the actual supplement. Does that work?
Yes.
First of all,
my levels are really high, really good because
I heard that it did. I heard it does. I heard it doesn't. I still take them. So every time I'm taking them, I'm like, I don't know if this is working or not. But can you talk a little bit about that? I know that you said you like to get up by the pool.
And maybe other supplements in general.
Please. Or
100%.
What are your go-tos, right?
Yeah, I'll tell you my faves. Okay, so when you're taking vitamin D for a maintenance level, if your vitamin D is over 80 on a measured lab, you would be taking 5,000 IUs a day. A normal doctor is going to tell you that that's too much.
Okay.
But they're, again, I tell people all the time in like the bitchiest, nicest way.
Yeah.
Like, if your doctor can read, then they can go to pubmed.gov and see for themselves. And if they can't read, they can come to me because I actually specialize in reversing dyslexia in 1 hour. Total empathy for those of you who can't read. I can't read without my colored overlay, but I'm gonna give people the right information, and it's right there, ready to go. Yeah. So for people whose vitamin D is under 30, I would say like trying to do 15,000 IUs. And then most people, especially women, need to have the vitamin D with a K. And so Brain MD, which is Dr. Amon's supplement line, is like my favorite.
Okay.
Because it has all of that. But then you also need magnesium to be absorbed. And so for me, like, again, my body was so sick, but I did not have any idea. I was just like my vibing little self. And I would take all these heavy doses, and it would be 6 months go by and my vitamin D only went up like 5 points. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then my best friend's mom, I was talking to her about this, and we hadn't seen each other in a year. And I was like, oh, how's your vitamin D level? She's like, oh, I thought I sent it to you. I wanted to celebrate. Because I tell people I'll like Venmo them $5 if they show me that their vitamin D is.
I love you.
That's so awesome.
That's cute.
And she's like,
I love that.
Yeah. She's like, oh, it's 90. I'm like, she got her vitamin D up like that. Yeah. And this is the thing, is it depends on your immune system, because vitamin D is a neurohormone. It's not just a vitamin. And with women, we are literally changing into different people every single day, because as our hormones are changing, our brain is changing. And so you have to keep it regularly measured. And when you have things like you do get sick or you get a concussion, your vitamin D is the first thing that takes a hit, which is why in a concussion first aid kit, which if you are a soccer mom or a football mom, like you need to have this for your kids. And when I say your kids, I mean like the whole sports team. Vitamin D is the most important thing to take after a concussion, along with omega-3s, which I'm like huge advocate for omega-3s. And you can do vegan ones with algae. So if you're like super into mermaids, like this is like perfect for you. And then saffron is my other favorite. Okay, me too. I'm like literally like so excited to be full-time in my pool doing this stuff from my pool.
Nice, good.
All are welcome. I don't need a ring light. I'm so excited. And so my other favorite supplement, and it's funny, I actually had a dream about a man from the show who we were like walking and talking about this. So I'm like, I might cry. Because I don't always remember things that I'm channeling, especially in my sleep. But saffron. So and again, saffron from the Brain MD supplement line, Dr. Amon's supplement line, is my favorite because that's all that I know. And I know the medical director who created that supplement, Dr. Paris Kidd, 2 R's, 2 D's. He is the most badass motherfucker. And like most people aren't going to hear about him because he's like a cute little nerd who just likes his little science. Like I asked him to come on my podcast, and he's like, it's going to take me a while. I want to put together a really good presentation for you about da 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 da. And I'm like, we don't care about that. But saffron comes from a beautiful, precious, deeply feminine flower. And if you've ever had paella and you know how delicious it is, it's because of the saffron. It's like the magical spice. You can take saffron as a supplement. It is the best thing for depression, for libido. It really helps with everything because it's a natural serotonin booster. And I've had clients who literally take it for 3 days. And this is also like before I knew how powerful I was as a healer. They'd be like, I literally feel like a totally new person. I literally wake up and like I have these completely different thoughts. Like I'm not anxious, like I'm not stressed. And it's literally just 3 cute little pills that are from an ancient flower.
Interesting.
It's amazing.
So that's is that saffron, you said?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah. So if you combine 2 research articles together about saffron's effectiveness, again, pubmed.gov, your new best friend.
Yeah. You and PubMed, like for sure.
I know. So the saffron and then walking fast for 45 minutes a day. If you do 2 of those together, it is 10 times more powerful than an antidepressant medication. And, I was at that time that I was working more deeply in the trenches with clients, most of them are like, I will literally do anything you tell me to the doctor and to me if I don't have to take a pharmaceutical again. And we're like, done. Like, that's not even a question. Because again, when it comes back to the energy side of things, the same people who own the pharmaceutical companies are the same people who own the fast food chains. They're the same people that own those 4 or 5 aisles in the grocery store that none of us ever go through. It's all connected, and it's all a dark way to attack us. And specifically our third eye, which we know is that tube, and the tube is going through our pituitary gland, which again, if you've had a concussion or you've been sick, it's going to damage your pituitary gland, which is damaging how much information you can get through your third eye. And so it's all connected when it comes to like, you know, being a light worker, like being a healer, being a seer, anything that you just kind of know intuitively is dark or like not of the light is going to make you, they're the ones that are trying to sell you shit, right?
Yeah.
And like, if anyone here is a business owner, you know how much money, you know how hard we work to make money to help people, but like trillions of dollars are spent to make us sick. And it's not even just sick keeping us in the system of healthcare, it's keeping us literally disconnected from our own intuition. And
Speak, girl. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what those platforms for.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And not just us, but our precious four-legged babies, or, you know, if you have a pet snake or whatever, like same things. Like, you know, these toxins go into the little paw pads of our precious babies, and those toxins go through their body much faster because they're so little. So I always tell people, like, if you are not sure about something and the Think Dirty app is telling you to give them $20 to find out if this is toxic, just hold that item. Or you can even do it with like people or whatever. You just write it on a sticky note and you just put it to your belly, and you just notice if you naturally go forward, this means it's good for you. And if you naturally lean back, it means that it's not good for you. Ooh. And so again, like, there's the science world, PubMed.gov, but then there's also like listening to your own body, because what I was doing for so long, I was kind of like overly attached to my supplements. And especially after I lost my dog, I was like a mess. So I was popping saffron and theanine, like literally candy. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't want to have to take this stuff forever. You know what I mean? Like, I know that when I'm grieving, and, you know, because serotonin is the grief hormone and the trauma hormone, like, I know that saffron and theanine are going to help me. I'm just going to put that in the bank, and I'm just going to focus on myself and like spending a lot of time in nature, getting a lot of sun. Back to what you were saying about your grandfather. First of all, so love him and obsessed with him, because there's so many people who didn't go through school because they just knew it was a program and they were like, fuck this, I'm not dealing with it. Unfortunately, I think that's still kind of rolled out sometimes into like self-esteem issues and stuff, but at least they were out of the program. Like, but before a few people decided, or demons, whichever word you want to use, decided to change the school system, they also changed the healthcare and the university system all at the same time, because they're all connected and owned by the same people. Hospitals used to have sun decks. They used to have beds all on the top floor of hospitals, so that when people were sick and recovering from surgeries, they would be literally laying in the sun for hours at a time.
Wow.
And even still, and I love what you said about Oregon, because this comes up a lot. I have a lot of friends that are in the Pacific Northwest.
Right.
And they don't get a lot of sun, but I'm like, just get as much as you can. And even if it's cloudy, like, the sun is still there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
that's
like,
true.
That's why, like, it's been really rainy in Ohio this week, and I've been like wearing my sun necklace to like feel like I'm in the sun more.
Yeah.
But in Sweden, and then Norway, and then the other one that's like the three fingers, they all still to this day like lay their, like, moms get together and like drink wine and eat amazing bread that doesn't have all the shit in it, and they just put they put their precious little babies, even in the winter, they put their precious little babies outside and they just lay them in the grass, and like they literally get sun. What do we do here? We put them under these lights, and again, like, the lights from screens and our phones like are literally going against the divine codes that our sun has, and it's like a way to manipulate us. And if you're like me and you're like, well, what can I actually do to
I know. I felt that. Like, wow, you're chill. You have chills on that one.
Woo! That just feels
truth chills.
Truth, the bomb.
Yeah.
Man.
Wow. Golly.
So
Wow.
what can we do about it so we can
Dana
still
says
support
truth.
people? Because like I love doing videos and like doing things for people.
Yeah.
I actually did it for us before we got on. I put an energetic putty on my camera and make sure that like the bad light isn't coming through. And then I highly, highly recommend, if you can, to put all of your screens on the highest night setting. So the night setting has that amber glow.
Yeah.
Right.
It'll on a Apple product, it'll be like less, more, more warm. Put it to the more warm.
Yeah.
It'll change your life. You literally you do that for a week, and then someone shows you, hey, look at this video, man. And then you look at it and you're like, I literally still have a startle response when I see other people's phones. I'm like, dude, I can't read that. It's stressing my little brain out. Like,
Wow.
because our eyes, we know how important our eyes are. The more work you do, your eyes literally changes, your consciousness changes.
Yeah.
And it's because our eyes are connected to our cerebellum, which is the bottom part of our brain. It's actually only 10% of the mass of our brain, but it's where 50% of our neurons are. So everything that goes through your eyes is being processed. Is this something that makes me feel safe? Or is this something that's going to put me in fight or fight or freeze, fawn, whatever? And so that's another thing that's important for people to realize when I do, because I love going into people's homes and like helping them learn all of this stuff while we're decluttering and organizing their space. And I tell them all the time, like even right now, like everything that is going through your eyeballs, whether you're conscious or not, is being processed as something that makes you feel safe or something that is putting you in fight or flight. And it's the gift of our eyes. And if we can do things to strengthen that, like energy work. And my biggest thing is like looking myself deep in my eyes and like saying that I love myself and like pumping myself up. It literally changes your eyes. So if someone is like, you look different, I'm like, what looks different? And one of my friends was like, your eyes look different. I was like, it's like the best compliment I could have got.
It is because they are the window to the soul. One of the QHHT, and I think this is kind of interesting to bring in here, authors, she does a lot of regression therapy, and basically one lady came to her and was asking about her weight and stuff like that. And in the session, so remember, it's your own voice under hypnosis saying stuff out loud connected to your higher source. So one of the things the higher source was saying out loud was basically tell her she needs to go outside and get sunlight without her contacts on. What?
Yeah.
Because for her weight loss, isn't that amazing?
Yes.
Because she wasn't receiving the healing properties of the sun and the light codes. Even more so interesting, right? The contacts were blocking her because she wore contacts every day. And I thought, oh my gosh.
Interesting.
How much do we not know? And how much has been suppressed from, just general things that could have been healthy for us all along.
Totally. Yeah. It attacks specifically with women. The not getting sunlight is causing your insulin issues. So for women, weight issues and then sleep issues are usually the two big ones. Molly Eastman, her brand is Sleep is a Skill, and it's so cute. She does these videos, like she's like the sunglass police. Like if she sees someone outside with sunglasses, she's like, take those off. Those are ruining your sleep. They're making you fat. Like,
they're making you fat.
Well, here's the other
thing.
thing.
Say that, but I added that. She's very nice. She would never say that.
Well, look, there's been a lot of, and one of the people that we follow, she wrote a book, it says, say the F out the sun. And maybe that might have been misinterpreted a little bit, right? Because we still love her, like whatever, but maybe that information may be a little misinterpreted because, now you're talking about your friend is like the sunglass police. Like, can you talk a little bit about that?
Well,
kind of that thought process versus that?
Before we go too far that way, we also have one of our
questions too.
Questions I thought was kind of interesting. He was electrocuted and he has a neurological damage from it. Are there some quick supplements or things that he can take to help with some of that damage? And there's also another one on FQAD, and if you could talk about like these neurological damages, and if there's some simple fixes to at least help support them, that'd be great.
Totally.
And then we can go back to
that's fine.
Totally. it's wild. I've met so many people who have been electrocuted, and like, it's just weird, right? I knew someone who electrocuted 6 times. I'm like, dude,
Yeah,
how does
they're
this keep
just
happening
hyperly
to you?
charged.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, you're treating the brain as if there was a brain injury, because ultimately that's kind of what happened. So I would look into supplements that support repairing your brain, which would be, omega-3s, the high vitamin D, NAC,
So
phosphatidylcholine.
what is
I
that?
can put this like in
NA,
the email for people too.
what
Yay.
is it called? NAC?
Yeah. So if you want to just write Brain Power Max,
Okay.
that's a red and white box that's a Brain MD supplement product. All of those ingredients will be your guide into what to get.
Okay.
The most important is the NAC and the phosphatidylserine, which usually people abbreviate as PS. That one supplement improves your cell membrane. I know a lot of people here talk about like activating your mitochondria for your energy through like light language and stuff. If you just add a little phosphatidylserine to what you're already doing, it's really going to catapult things forward. And I love, Lianka, that you asked about the sun going through your eyes and stuff, because it's interesting. The higher your vitamin D level in your body, the lower the chances that you have cancer. And I could go on a whole nother tangent about cancer
sense.
because I really love German new medicine, which believes that every single thing that we're going through is like a health issue, is actually the beginning of the healing phase of a past emotional trauma. Very interesting.
Yeah.
But I will say that the biggest thing that I learned after I've been obsessed with the sun my whole life. I did my morning meditations in the sun always. But it wasn't until, I don't know if it was the show or something else, but Alyssa Rushton was sharing her thing she does, where she does the eye squinting and all of that.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was interesting. I'm like, that's actually probably a really powerful cancer preventative, but you also need to make sure they're supplementing with a vitamin D, because the higher vitamin D, the lower the chances you have of literally any health problem, especially cancer. And so I've recently been learning a lot. I was always like very anti-dermatology, anti-OBGYN, and just, thought it was just me being too traumatized to want to deal with it. And then recently the universe has been delivering me these like very big influencers who go into the science of like what they actually do. And I was like, that's really interesting. So if I am worried about something on my skin, like what's a process that I could learn and go through to heal it? And also just giving Oscar Sierra another shout out. He sees stage 4 cancer people all the time. So even if it gets to that type of stage with something, like there's always a resource, there's always a way that you can get through it, whether it is through supplements, whether it is through energy healing, whether, the big one too with the C word is like, there's people who, are poor, right? Like they don't have the money to like go to a hotshot doctor, especially on the other side of the world. It's like, lay on the earth in the sun and just imagine that every single cord, membrane, cell, which of course the brain is trillions, so you can imagine how many more are in the body. All of them are connecting to the mycelial network. They're connecting to the trees. They're connecting to the mushrooms. They're literally taking all of that away from you while the sun is restoring you and giving back the immunity that you lost. And there's a lot of people that are saying they do that for 1 or 2 weeks and all of their issues went away. So like there's a way to do literally anything and it not cost money. It's just some people really need to have things like the vitamin D and the omega-3 and the phosphatidylserine just to kind of catapult that forward, especially if they're really, really suffering. There's a reason why the football players get CTE, and it's because the way that you can actually find out what if you look at someone's brain scan and they're a football player, there's actually specific patterns for specific positions in the NFL. And so the guys that are continuously hitting over and over are the ones who are getting CTE faster. And they're not being told that there's things that they can do. And it just like breaks my heart, because it's like, supplements, hyperbaric oxygen therapy brings those guys back. And ultimately, like whenever I support an NFL player, I'm trying to get them out of that. Fun
Yeah.
fact, most of the NFL locker rooms have like dangerous levels of mold. So I've never been with an NFL player who didn't have to be detoxed from mold while
Wow.
healing their brain trauma. And it's just a testament to like how delicate our brains are, because I think the NFL players are the most severe example.
Yeah.
But, if you fell out of the bed as a little kid, or you got in a fender bender, I slipped and fell and hit the back of my head on a snowboarding once, and that really messed me up. And it was very visible on my brain scan, but it didn't really affect me until years later. There are people who have a major injury and then immediately become a completely different person. Speaking of mermaids, there's this lady who was happily married, very independent, like very focused on her business. Her husband worshiped her, amazing life. They were going on vacation, weirdly, at the same place that I go every year. And I went after, and I noticed walking through the restaurant, I was like, something feels different. This is so fucking weird. And then I go back from my vacation, and I had this client, and it's like head injury in the intake. And I'm like, but I need to know what the head injury was. To this restaurant in this beach town, and the mermaid that's normally over the door fell on her head.
Oh,
wow.
Wow. Wow.
So weird. So
yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
And so she overnight, like, literally couldn't focus anymore. She was super clingy to her husband. Whenever he would leave the room, she would have a panic attack. Like, she had such drastic personality changes that, like, yes, thank God we knew it was a very clear evidence of a brain injury, because it was like before and after so quickly. But that's not the case for most people. It's not just a before and after. It's usually 6, 9, 12 months of personality changes. And it doesn't even have to be a brain injury. A lot of people with OCD, like legit OCD, like every time they go over a speed bump, they're convinced that they killed somebody and they have to turn around and go check. I had a client like that. People with severe OCD often had strep throat or mono, like really badly as a kid, which is the case for me. Like, my strep throats made me like I would swallow and like tears would flow, and I tried so hard not to swallow because it hurt so much. But what it does is it completely changes your microbiome, because I was given antibiotics, of course, which is like not great. And that destroyed my serotonin. So when people are talking about like gut health and brain health, what they need to understand is that, like, yes, it's your whole brain, obviously, but the most important neurotransmitter that's being affected is your serotonin, which is your happy chemical, which is the chemical that allows you to flow through the world without getting stuck on thoughts or having like crippling anxiety. And so a lot of people, because what I was doing for a very long time was clinical intakes. And so I'm literally looking at the timeline of everything that's happened since their parent conceived them to the moment they're sitting in my chair. And so much of it came back to just like what we call like normal child illnesses, but the antibiotics that completely destroyed their gut, which over the course of 6, 9, 12 months caused so much change in their brain with their serotonin that their personality changed, and it looked like they had OCD. There's something called pandas. I'm not sure if anyone's heard of that. It's basically a fancy name. I have an episode on my podcast about that too, with Ethan Pompeo. So pandas is an actual like clinical name, and it's like pediatric autoimmune.
Panda, like the bear, like the bear.
name, it's
the cute little bear. Acronym. Pediatric autoimmune neurological something strep throat. Basically, it's like a very big thing where a lot of kids and teens suddenly have OCD or Tourette's or autism, and we find out it's because of strep or a strep-like infection. So just like Lyme, if you go to your doctor, they have to be Lyme literate. Just like with strep, it's the same type of doctor that you would need to see. They would need to actually do all of the measurements of all of the titers of the strep, because it's probably connected to something else. Like my strep and my Epstein-Barr mono were very connected. And thankfully, we have so many amazing doctors out there who are telling you, like, you can do oil of oregano instead of antibiotics. You can go lay in the sun. Like, you can do raw honey. When I was processing some really cool big stuff and I was like in bed for a week, I was just chugging honey, and it literally was healing me. And it's so funny because I know a lot of us love like golden light meditation. And like for me, honey symbolizes golden light, and like honey and money rhyme and are only one letter off, which I think is also super cool.
Yeah. I love honey.
Yeah.
Me too.
I'm like, can't, I mean, I want to have like the tea just so I can have honey.
And it's
My dad was a beekeeper.
oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Gosh, you always reveal all these things that I have no idea, like big things. They
Well,
say
It's
every
a big
day.
thing. Anyway,
It's
I'm
different.
writing it in my little notebook because at some point I'm gonna need a beekeeper. I don't know when, but just
I
like
would like
sometime.
to, I kind of would like to do bees and,
Yeah.
and get a beekeeper to come over and do those.
I'm like, we'll have to move studios. Just kidding.
I just don't want bees back in my backyard with my dogs. That's the
Well, so you know, there's the theory if you are like a queen, like the bees like won't hurt you. And Jupiter Ascending is one of my favorite movies with Channing Tatum.
Oh
and Mira.
yeah, it's a great movie.
She walks to the house of the beekeeper and all the bees just swarm around her. And so people are like, what's your like goal in life? And it's like, I want that, and I want to be able to lift shit with my mind. Those are my two big goals. I want the bees to just love me, because I've only been stung like once or twice, and it's been in the last 6 months since I've like really catapulted my growth. And I always like felt weird. I'm like, why don't bees like me? Mosquitoes, no bugs would ever bite me. And I'm like, why? Everybody else gets bitten.
They don't like me either.
Mosquitoes love
Are
me.
you O negative blood type? Because I have a theory that since I'm so negative, it only likes the positive.
That's really
people.
funny. I think it's more about the pheromones that are like I'm putting out. It's like a lot more. I was reading about this. It's I have a lot more like angst. I probably have like high cortisone levels. Just saying, and that tends to be attractive to mosquitoes. I could be making this up. I'm not sure, but this is what they were saying.
I mean, I don't know. This is the thing that I've learned is like I'm like literally there's the one we're all 1%ers here in general, but like I'm like a fraction of that because like I'm a positive and mosquitoes don't like me. And my sister was O negative, and they would literally viciously attack her.
Oh, okay. So it has nothing to do with that.
And I have a lot of blood. I have very high iron. Like I actually have to give blood to like be healthy, which again is most women are low iron.
I'm very low iron.
Take the iron. Okay, Leonka, you just said something that I needed to follow up on. I'm trying to think of what it was.
Iron or sun?
Oh, the cortisol.
Yes.
So cortisol and oxytocin are like a seesaw on the playground. It was like my favorite thing as a kid. First, now they don't exist.
So she just needs a lot more sex, is what you're saying.
Orgasms.
I'm down with that.
Lots of orgasms.
Yes. Make sure they're orgasms. And then also hugs.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really weird because, you know, just how everything is connected, and like there can be kind of like a double-edged sword of understanding things. Because with the autism, for example, most of them, they're very sensitive to touch and they don't like to be touched, but it's because they don't have enough oxytocin. So what they actually need is more of that, which is why I recommend if someone does have with severe autism that they take oxytocin as a pill, which you can get from a really, really good doctor. It's the only pharmaceutical that I like, and it's amazing. But also with I did this for I think like my past self or something like that, but a lot of the person I did it with, my therapist, it's called the 5-minute hug, self-explanatory obviously, but 5 minutes is a long time. Like if
it is a long time.
You try to do a plank for a minute, you're like, this is the longest minute of my life.
Yeah,
right.
But I did the 5-minute hug with him, and I mean, if you just want to like get all that trauma out of your body in 5 minutes, like it does a really good job. And specifically with couples. So I have a lot of friends who are in like the relationship and sex intimacy world. And I tell them, I'm like, just do this first before you jump into the container with them. Because it's, you know, obviously not really fun talking about that, especially if there's like infidelity or special needs child involved, if there's a lot more stress. But if you can just do a 5-minute hug with someone that you're having a really challenging time with, like so much of that anger, resentment is literally just going to melt away.
Oh,
well, it would make sense. One of the body processes we do for abuse, it's the back of the head and the tailbone or perineum.
Yeah.
And you just hold them there and let that process. And it would seems like, well, just that being you usually curl up like a little child when you do this,
Yes.
like a nurturing pose.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of like a 5-minute hug, except it usually lasts more like 20 minutes, which like 4 of them.
Even better. Yeah.
I know,
So
right?
it's funny. Yeah. So Imago, I'm probably saying it wrong. IMAGO. It's a fancy therapy for couples who want to go to like a resort experience and like fix their marriage. The biggest secret is what you just said. They literally hold their spouse like a baby and just like tell them that they love them over and over and over until they finally break open and cry. And the rest of the weekend, they just have fun.
Yeah.
So there are a couple other things besides just, intimacy besides sex, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Truth be told.
Yeah, for sure. But that's like obviously my favorite way to get
oxytocin. Of course.
Well, I know, like most of our guests, that you did put together a special offer for us, and thank you for that. I'd like to bring that up and have you go through it.
Sure. A couple comments from the audience. This is such an interesting call. Thank you. Love this topic. Bees are amazing transmuters. Someone saying, I'm so connected to the bees and so many wonderful experiences with them. And somebody else says, ooh, interesting info. I need a hug.
I know, that was cool. It's
so cute.
This is an interest. I think we could go for hours and hours and hours and talk with you.
I literally talk to myself for hours.
I love it so much. Let's go.
Like this was 3 hours and I was trying to make it like a super like one-stop shop, like super easy, and it was still 3 hours. So
yeah, awesome.
Let's talk about this offer, how to heal from these neurological issues naturally.
Yay!
Can you see it on your screen? Okay, good.
Yes, I can. And it's crazy because I love this page and I love building
and it's so
pages.
Pretty. That's our Chica Carol. Yeah. Carol does it up for us.
Pretty.
Yeah. I am obsessed with her. That's another
me too. Me too.
We are. You can't have her.
I know. But I feel like I'm getting closer to having all of the dream people in my life. And she was just a beautiful example of
a very good
what I need.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I said, I personally met with people, most of them hugged and cried with, 8,000 of them. I've trained 20,000 medical and mental health professionals who, of course, have people on their caseload. And then there's the data bank of brain spec scans that's over 275,000. It's extremely rare, less than 1%, that anyone of any age is walking around without a brain injury. And that could be a big piece to why things aren't moving along in their life, because again, the brain is soft and it's floating around your skull. You shake it or, it goes violently back and forth for whatever reason. I got a lot of concussions from sports, from like slipping and falling and hitting my head on the grass. You don't really know how it's going to affect you unless you A, look at it, or B, you start thinking about symptoms from a brain systems perspective. If there's this saying of, if you're going to fall and hit your head, fall on the right side, not the left side. Because if you fall on your left side and you hurt the left side of your brain, that's where your suicidal thoughts are, your homicidal thoughts, schizophrenic tendencies, dark thoughts versus
so we're
the right
supposed to fall on our right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good information.
You're just going to be like more like, yeah.
And I'm super clumsy, y'all.
Yeah, you're just going to be more spacey, and like that's totally fine. When I go through my spacey periods, it's nice to have a break, because this is like how I am today is basically how I am on my brain, like all the time. So, but you really don't know until you start thinking about it. So again, like there's depression in the temporal lobes, which is the side. There's depression in the middle of your brain, where it's like your hippocampus and your pituitary gland. Treating those is going to be totally different because of the part of your brain that's been affected, versus just slapping a label of depression and slapping a depressive diagnosis, et cetera, et cetera. And so I want to make sure that everybody, like my goal is for everyone on the planet who can stand my voice to have access to this course. Just because
I love it.
Yeah, and even if you don't read the course because you're like, oh, I can't stand her, like the downloadable PDF slides are enough information for you to change your life and somebody else's life. And I did that on
This is
purpose because I
fun.
know
That's great.
that not everyone is a visual learner, audio learner. And for me, like I'm like the resource queen, right? Like my whole life is like copy, send, copy, send.
Yeah.
So I wanted everyone to have something that they could save on their phone. And then immediately when someone's like, oh, I need to get my labs done. Didn't you say you had a lab order for me to use as a guide? Yes, here it is. Oh, I did this master class and it talked about the different parts of the brain where depression and anxiety and ADHD are. Here's the PDF. Go ahead and look at it. So I did it that way on purpose. But yes, it's 3 hours of me talking about how to heal your brain and protect your brain so that if you don't want to get dementia, dementia is preventable 100% of the time. It is reversible most times. The only times I've worked with a client who was stage 3, stage 4, told by multiple neurologists, there's nothing else you can do, say goodbye to your husband. The only ones who didn't get better were the ones who didn't do the treatment. And so if you can do those things, and I even had a client whose dementia was so bad, she's paranoid that her family is trying to kill her. And so thankfully she loved me. And so she would do what I told her, but the paranoia come in.
I gotcha.
Like, we're going to take these supplements together. And I would literally wait for our appointment to take the supplements together. And then when she did hyperbaric oxygen, she would have one of her daughters go in the chamber with her because, she thought that the chamber was going to kill her. And the best thing is that with hyperbaric oxygen, if you can fit 2 people in the chamber, it's 2 people that are healing. And her adult daughters, one of them had a lot of stress and anxiety, went away after doing the hyperbaric oxygen. And then the other had a lot of insulin issues. And she literally healed and got off all of her blood sugar medications just from doing it. And like, again, had no expectations. They just did it because mom
needed
told them
that. Wow.
Yeah. And the thing about this is that with, brain SPECT imaging specifically, and again, I can do a psychic scan, or you could go to Amen clinics and get one. It shows dementia 20 years before you have symptoms. So because my body had so many toxins in it, and I had the concussions to the specific part of my brain that was, it's called the left parietal lobe, not important, but it's one of the 3 parts of the brain that starts to shut down with dementia. I had a pre-dementia brain at age 28, yet Dr. Amen has said it on camera like multiple times, like I am his highest performing employee. Like he wanted to clone me, and I still like literally could be sitting here like not knowing who I am, which is absolutely bonkers to think about because I'm so young. But there's a reason why, I was led through this path, and it's to let people know.
Yes.
It's kind of crazy because, your brain doesn't develop until you're 25 for a woman and 28 for a man. And I'm like, so your brain is developed. Now we need to start doing dementia prevention. And people are like, what? And I'm like, people are getting diagnosed in their 40s and 50s. And it's absolutely heartbreaking. But again, it can be healed very, very quickly with the right resources and the right team on your side. That's what it's all about, is understanding that, what I said earlier, and I say all the time, like your energy and time are so precious, and you need to understand that when it comes to your health. There are people who I can just look at their picture. This is how I make a lot of decisions. I look at someone's picture, I get an immediate energy read, and I'm like, yeah, I would never go to that doctor ever, period. And so it's just really a different way to look at, like, if you are asking for help, just like you ask for, psychic readings and things, like you have to be that discerning when it comes to your health, whether
especially now.
Exactly.
Dana asked about, does it include about labs?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes. It's literally a one-stop shop.
Girl, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't gatekeep on anything.
It's a low price point so
That
that
means, yeah.
everyone can have access to
Clearly,
it.
Exactly.
And
you
thank
did
you
this
for doing that.
right.
Appreciate that.
This is worth
The-
so much
The
more.
testimonials are really incredible too.
It's like, yeah,
here.
we can tell clearly by the
Yeah.
price point that you really wanted to make it affordable and accessible to
Yeah.
everybody. Because this is
Yeah.
just hearing you talk about it, I can tell it's worth. The value is so much, much more.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And I think a lot of
Incredible.
people have done a lot of the right things, but you know, for example, like doing talk therapy or cognitive behavioral therapy, known as CBT, if you were doing that with, I mean, it's called the overactive anterior cingulate, which is the part of your brain responsible for serotonin. If that's overactive, which is extremely common, CBT is not going to help. Like you have to literally calm that area down with supplements and other natural healing tools in order for the therapy to be effective. And same with really just anything. Like why you can't ride a bike if something is one little piece is off. You know what I mean?
If that chain falls off, you're definitely not riding that bike.
Yeah. So most people that I've worked with, they're like, I have literally done everything.
Oh.
I don't understand how I'm missing something. And I'm like, I promise there is a reason and we're going to figure it out. And it's going to be something super, super easy to heal. Nothing is unhealable. Nothing is too damaged. I mean, I've seen clients who, especially if you start learning more about the SPECT scans and you see what they look like. I mean, I've had clients who only had 10% of their brain functioning and we were able to bring it back. So it's really possible, no matter what anybody else has said. And again, like listening to your own intuition, there's a reason why like there's so many amazing moms out there like Jenny McCarthy who listened to her gut and now she has like all these amazing resources to help people with autism. But yeah, my immediate healing session is, I always say everything's my baby, but it's just because I love everything. But so I really wanted to do more energy healing and I just didn't know what I wanted that to look like. And so I started playing with different offers, getting feedback, etc. And then last year I came out with the immediate healing session. And it's something that I always offer. You literally get sent healing energy within 24 hours. And I even have someone who literally just does it so, you know, she can go into a business deal and feeling the best.
That makes sense.
We literally did I did a blessing on a real estate deal overseas. Can you imagine going from the US to Europe and like it not being the house that you thought you were buying? And I was able to like support her in that so that she wasn't as anxious. So I love that. And I love this offer. It's so fun. But yeah, you literally
you get both of those with this entire offer is what you're saying.
I think so. I don't remember what I did.
Okay, just checking.
Wow, girlfriend. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm a manifesting generator, emotional authority. So I get really excited. I put together everything I'm going to do. And then I sleep on it and then send the email. And I do not even remember what I said.
Fabulous. Well,
yeah.
Great. Then this was divinely inspired. And I'm sure a lot of people will love it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. That's what I did. I did.
Yeah.
And if you're
okay.
It's an add-on.
If you're choosing
go ahead. Yeah. I'm so sorry.
If you're choosing this, I mean, choose it quickly because obviously she's put together lots of value here for us. And so I know we don't want to inundate you, but yes, I do see that it is an add-on. So awesome. Very cool.
It's normally $6.97 and it's
wow.
even more than that. I mean, I've had people's psoriasis go away. I've had C-word stuff go away. Like it's really, I mean, yes, I'm channeling the Christ healing frequency, but the dragons, the wind, the fairies, Bridget, and then my cat, who is amazing. His name is Archer. He's on Instagram. Archer.
What's up, Archer? Shout out.
He's loving this. He's just chilling right now. But we're all doing this work together, and it's just so fun because healing gets to be easy and fun. That's part of the deprogramming, you know, for people who are excited to be out of the matrix. This is what it actually means. It's like, can it be this simple? And it's like, yeah, it can.
It can. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I just,
What a great call.
yeah, my
Thank you.
goodness, that was
Thank you.
amazing. You are amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, we love you.
And you're helping a lot of people, so thank you.
Oh my
Any
gosh.
parting words
Yeah.
for us today?
Um, I really just like to tell people, like, if I can do it, you can do it, because I had so many things against me. Like I shared a lot of biological things, but like, psychologically, I had a lot going on. Like my, current ish timeline, childhood trauma, whatever word you want to use, like past life stuff. Like this is the lifetime that like I really do the damn thing. And I'm
Mhm.
so grateful that I get to do it and I get to
Yes.
share it with other people. But you need to do it too. And
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
there's no reason that you can't. And there's so many amazing people out there, especially, you guys, Jonathan, Leonka, and then all the people that you guys have on here. I mean, last year was really fucking hard for me. And I actually did this masterclass almost exactly a year ago, which I thought was wild. And I remember I think you guys maybe you were doing a summit or something during then, but I was like binging
The Rewire.
yeah, yes.
Yeah.
I was binging it, and I mean, it like it helped me to the point where I was like talking myself out of like really dark stuff. And there's a reason that we have to go through the dark night of the soul and like
Yes.
the void and all of that stuff. And I assist people in ascension symptoms, but sometimes like you have to just go through it and know that like you have the support of people, and they could be people you haven't even talked to or even know, but if you invite that energy of like, everyone who's on my vibration or higher is welcome to support me while I sleep tonight. Like it can be that simple. And then like you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I feel so much better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, we're so happy
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
we
my
could be there
goodness.
with you on your journey.
Wow.
That it's exactly why we do this show. And if we could just help one person, and here you are talking with us today and blowing our minds. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's I'm glad for that feedback too.
Yeah. And if you're looking for this offer and you're listening, it's at houthustle.com/Fallon, Fallon.
I'm like gonna have to put that as my screensaver.
Yeah.
Like
Fallon,
the
thank
URL.
you.
I'm just so honored. This is like seriously amazing. I'm so grateful.
Well, it was such a joy for us too. We'll go ahead and let you go, and we'll just do a couple more announcements. And so next week we have Jenith and I will be not in the studio. Jenith is actually traveling.
No.
And we are getting ready for our really exciting summit at the end of May. So last week of May, mark your calendars. We've got a great lineup for you. It's going to be all about the Mystique. It's Mystique, the Force Awakens Within. And so we're going to have channelers. We're going to have activations. It's going to be a lot of fun. They're going to come with really great special offers for you. We're going to have 3 speakers a day starting at 11 o'clock. So they'll run for about 50 minutes each. So join us. It's Monday through Friday, last week of May, and that starts on the 26th, so Memorial Day. If you are working and you catch us normally on replay, you can catch us live that day. So we're excited, and we're just going to go for the whole week. Woohoo! Also, we want to let you know that next Tuesday, it'll be Jenith and I in this, not in the studio, but we will be talking about the show and the summit. So it'll be like kind of a pre-summit game party. And then we also have a live event coming up at the end of the year. So start marking your calendars. Jenith, I believe that is November. We have it for the
November 7th, 8th, and 9th, I believe.
So it's November 7th, 8th, and 9th. And it's kind of floating still, but the dates, we're totally committed to the event, and we're really excited about that too. And one of the things that we've always wanted to really share with this audience was, How Hustle is really about today's How and Hustle, and today's what's hot in couture is not just fast fashion. It's not these really
the opposite of fast
it's
fashion.
totally the opposite. It's actually products and services and beautiful speakers like the Fallon today that provide us with services and products that are good for our bodies, our health, the community, for the betterment of the world and sustainability. So we're going to be talking a lot about that and those things that actually work at the coming up toward the end of the year with our new summit and live event. The other thing too is that when we talk about hustle, sometimes people think that word is like all about working your fingers to the grind. And this is not what that is at all. It's working with beautiful people like Fallon today, right? Sharing these really great messages that are because it's for the betterment of the earth and for each other and our communities. It has its own inertia. It's about strutting our stuff and feeling great and feeling really positive about how we do movement in this world, and it moves itself. And so continue to share this movement with us, and you can do that by liking and subscribing. We are on YouTube, we are on podcast, and we are live every Tuesday and Thursday. So if you don't catch us live, you can always listen to us on the replay. If you're not getting our emails, be sure to sign up at howthustle.com. And we are putting together a shop because we realized that lots of times people were looking for our product, all the beautiful products that our speakers suggest on our show. And we wanted to put them all in one place. So we're making that available, and we're doing a lot of redesign here, or a lot of add-ons, if you will.
Yeah.
Because we've been really excited about what we've been. Yeah, they are. They're rocking and rolling. And so we've got a really great lineup for the rest of the year as well. So be sure to join us, and be sure to, if you have any questions, we have the Mystique coming up next Wednesday. And the Mystique is our mastermind inner circle. We do this format, but we also open up the line, and it's where everyone that is in part of our Mystique circle or inner circle, they get the opportunity to talk and really expand upon their own psychic gifts. Many times throughout osmosis, I always say, our Janet's psychic gift is sometimes a lot different from my psychic gift, and a lot of the people that are on the show. So we're energy workers, we're light workers, we're star seeds. This is the place where we can come and talk and ask questions while on our journey, and of course share fun pictures and stories and experiences in a very safe, non-judgmental space that expands us all, so that we can continue to do what we do and shine brightly for the world, even for ourselves. And so I was excited last time being on the show, and we were asking people to volunteer to, kind of spell break some stuff. And most people didn't volunteer because they were like rocking and rolling. And most people that were saying, I'm doing great.
Like, I don't have anything.
Everybody was saying, I don't got nothing. And they were all part of our inner circle. And I thought, oh, that's a good testament. Everybody's feeling good and rocking and rolling. And so I just, that's just a testament to the type of love and mastermind and the growth that we were having in that particular group. If you want to learn more, it's at howthustle.com/join Mystique.
No, just join.
Join. No, okay, thank you. So it's to reiterate.
I'll put it.
Sure. It's howthustle.com/join. I love that. Making it easy for everybody. And if you have any questions, or if you want to know if it's for you or anything, if you're looking for anything, you can always send us an email at team@howthustle.com. We're very easy to reach, and we're always available for people. And, even if you're feeling some type of way, let us know. We want to be supportive. And if you've got any guest speakers that you'd like to suggest, please send them over. We'd love to have that and get those on the line too. So anyway, we just want to say have a really great weekend. We're on Thursday, and we'll talk with you soon.
Happy Mother's Day
Happy Mother's Day
Sunday.
Yay.
Bye, everyone.
Oh, wait, 2 seconds. Mother's Day. There's a coupon code. It goes till Sunday. It is.
Yes, it does go to Sunday. It's Mom25.
Mom25 on all the products that we host on our site. So thank you for that reminder.
You're welcome.
Have a good one.